Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Happy Friday, guys. Let me just adjust my microphone. Don't know if you can hear me well enough, so I'm cranking up the volume. Yeah, happy Friday. I hope, first of all, my thoughts and prayers, my condolences, my warmest, deepest sympathies to our friend Monique Lee, who just lost her mom. So, folks, please uh, say a prayer for her and her family. We hope the family makes it through this very difficult, difficult time. Uh, very sorry for your loss, Monique. And also, I want to say, I hope everybody out there is safe. And when I say safe, I'm talking about from the storm. Last night, the Southeast was lashed severely by a major hurricane event. It was Hurricane Helene, which is now a tropical depression, but it has done some serious damage. So I hope everybody here is a okay. Let me just check in. Oh my goodness! Look at the Trump Reaper has beat you, Zelda. Trump Reaper beat you. Hi, Trump Reaper. Hi, Zelda. Um, and let's see. Claudia is here. Meredith Powell. Uh, Brad. Oh my God. Brad Zoke says, can someone remove my eardrums so I never hear Trump's lying ass mouth again? I feel you. I feel you. I feel that in my bones, brother. CJ is here. Lucy L, Cindy C, Punxsutawney I like folks from Pennsylvania. They use that word yins. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. That's a strictly a Pennsylvania thing. Yins guys, I guess means you guys. I don't know why it has to be yins, but that's cool. Lane 2 is here. Welcome, Lane 2. Cindy Kellner is here. Lulu Girl. Nurse Mitch, Tracy M, aka Nurse Mitch, is here. Bernadette H is here, and happy Mama AG, Queen of the South. Diane London, there she is. This is my nondescript tune. Miami Beach Madness is Dexter Wright in the Gauss, okay, in the house. Valerie G, David Collison. Hello, David Collison. I got you with your shout out there, buddy. Michelle. Okay. And that damn Karen. That damn Karen. We haven't seen you in a while. All right, you guys. It's that time. We're gonna do a quick recap, but first, let me do our stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Stories of the day. Cindy, by the way, wants to know, has anyone ordered their $100,000 POS watch yet? POS is an acronym short for piece of shite. Piece of shite. And Jane Doe is here. Texas in the house. All right. Yeah. I am liking these new names too. Hi, the ABX girl. I see you, my friend. Mary Margaret Rachel is here as well. Okay. So today's title is Hurricane Trump. Hi, Jenny Rayner. I see you, my friend. Let's see. Yeah, Hurricane Trump. He is a disaster, mostly to himself, but hopefully enough of us will show up on November 5th and avoid having that disaster wreck the entire nation. Hello, Marie from New Jersey. I see you. Um, yeah. So speaking of disaster, this was some people were saying this is like a once in a century storm. It was category 4. I think the thing that is most noteworthy is that it is the third hurricane to strike the specific area of Florida it did. They call it the Big Bend. I think it's because that's kind of where Florida bends. Maybe that's why they call it the Big Bend, but it hit there and it's the third one to hit there in a year. So that's pretty crazy. Punxsutawney Moore wants to know, what do you think of the mayor shit? We are going to get into that. Um, Fun fact, I never cared for this guy, never liked him. I was always leery of him, especially when he did that weird ass video, which I will play. But then, of course, when I play it, YouTube is gonna it's gonna flag it because there's some music in the background. Anyway, and last but not least, Donald Trump is flailing out of desperation. Um, yeah, he's totally out there. I've seen him bad, and he's getting worse. He's getting much worse. And I wish the media would treat it as such, as a definite decline in his mental faculties. There's no other way to look at it. And yes, Bernadette, 100%, I agree with you. Maya Wiley should have been New York City's mayor. I was rooting for her to be mayor. She unfortunately did not make that. Um, Before you forget, please, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button. Please do so. Also, hit the like button. Looks like my thumbs up. There you go. And hello, Gene E. I see you there. We lost an acting legend. Dame Maggie Smith passed away today. And she died, I think it was age 89. She's famous for roles that she's played in movies as diverse as Sister Act and the Harry Potter series, as well as there's a show kind of popular. It's called Downton Abbey. She's a very popular character on the show, and she seemed to be like in addition to, as Lucy L is saying, in addition to her being a wonderful actress, I've heard many people say that she was just like a very nice, down to earth, humble person, and you hate to lose people like that. Even though it seemed like she lived a spectacular life. Yeah, you never like to see the good ones go. Twilight of the Gods. So I normally don't cover cartoons. I like cartoons. It's not for everybody, and I find that it's like a small set of people who do like cartoons. But this one is unique, and I do want to say something about it. It was directed by. It's a show. First of all, it's on Netflix, and it's a show directed by Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder uh, is the guy who did movies like The 300. He did Man of Steel. He did one version of the Justice League movie, and he's got Rebel Moon is another movie he did. I think it was like a specifically for Netflix movie. He's got a distinctive style, um, and it's usually like that extreme slow motion thing, and then it speeds up real quick, and then it slows down again. It's very dynamic for action movies. Um, and Matriarch of the Gods it focuses on characters that you might be familiar with, such as Thor and Loki from the Marvel movies. However, this is not this is not the Thor, the beneficent and the jovial Thor that you're accustomed to seeing in the movies. No, this is like an angry Thor. This is the Norse god version of Thor, who's a bit of a dick. He's a dick. He's an asshole. He's a murderer. He's yeah, he's horrible. And I will, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'll say that he crashes the party of this woman on the screen. Her name is Sigrid, right? She is a half giant, half human, but she's definitely just human size. I guess she's got a giant size heart, and she's a fierce, fierce warrior. She's marrying the love of her life. And Thor shows up in the middle of this wedding, crashes it looking for Loki, who is also on the screen here on the right. And when he doesn't find Loki, he decides he's gonna fuck shit up and kills a lot of people. And Sigrid swears vengeance on his ass. I don't think I'm spoiling because this happens like literally in the first episode, in the first like 20 minutes of the show. Um, the animation is strong. It is an adult show. Do not sit your 13-year-old down thinking that that's a cartoon. No, sir. And I'm not even just talking about the violence, and there is some violence. There's some extreme violence, very gory, but there's also some extreme sex in here as well. There's some sex. Yeah. People are doing the hibbity dibbity left and right. That said, great show. So far, I'm enjoying it immensely. Yeah, there's some of that violence I was talking about. Norse, yes, Trump Reaper. It is Norse mythology. I'm not all that familiar with Norse mythology, so I don't know how accurate it is. It's because it's Zack Snyder. It's likely that he's taken some liberties creatively with the content, but it is a very interesting show. Tonight, Wifey and I will be watching a movie. It's an Apple TV movie, and it's called Wolves, not Wolves, which kind of irritates my brain. It's Wolves, and it's starring George Clooney and Brad Pitt. These guys who work so well together in the Ocean 11 series of movies. They are back together in a movie called Wolves, and it appears Great Odin's beard. It appears that George Clooney and Brad Pitt play. Have you ever seen that movie, Pulp Fiction? And the guy shows up, a cleaner, professional fixer or cleaner shows up. I forget the name of the guy. Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel plays this guy who is a cleaner when shit goes sideways and you need somebody to clean up a body, to get rid of evidence. That's what these guys do. George Clooney and Brad Pitt's character both are cleaners, and they both get assigned to the same job. I think that's that's pretty much the premise of the movie, and hilarity ensues. It looks like a funny movie. We're going to check it out tonight. I'll let you know what I think. There is a standoff, apparently. And let's keep it moving right on through to the content of the show. This week was a good week for Kamala Harris. I would say even a great week for Kamala Harris. Now, with that said, of course, she has to withstand, excuse me, she has to withstand relentless attacks from the right, and most of the attacks are not fair. Most of them are not accurate. They are bullshitty, but whatever. She has shared a story, an anecdote about her mother several times. And this anecdote says, never let anyone define you. You define you. And that's what she's doing. This week, she is sorry. Jane Doe. Jane Doe says, "Have you heard the left caused a hurricane to make Trump and DeSatan look bad, like they need help?" According to at Loki 8 Dusty. That's good. uh, uh, yeah. So she is. Kamala Harris is busy defining herself, and I love how she's doing it. She is defining herself. She's like taking this race by the throat. She's grabbing this race the way she walked across the stage and grabbed Trump's hand. Remember? Trump tried to avoid shaking her hand at the beginning of the debate, and she wasn't having it. She like made a beeline right towards him. Kamala Harris, let's have a good debate. She shook his hand, and he that was when he lost. So yeah, so she has she conducted or Stephanie Rule conducted an interview of Kamala Harris this week, and I like Stephanie Rule. I think she is one of the smartest people on MSNBC, specifically when it comes to the economy and finance, things like that. She's right on point. She also has a good, I think she has a great IQ for politics, for how things work, how they're supposed to work, and for fairness and all that stuff. She's right there. With that said, if you do an interview with her, she is not going to cut you slack. I wouldn't say she's as severe as George Stephanopoulos, but she's up there. She's a serious interviewer, and she did. And Kamala Harris did her thing. In fact, I think I have a clip. I do have a clip from this thing here. Oops, wait. Let's move this over here. Give me a second. Give me a second. Where's my show thing? Here we go. There it is. Okay.
The last 4 years, there have been tremendous economic wins, and you've just laid out a big plan. But still, polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression when you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Just to interrupt here, I hate it. I hate it when reporters do that. It was during COVID. So what? He was like, that doesn't give him, there's no excuse for that. I would cut him some slack if he didn't try to downplay the pandemic, if he didn't disastrously mismanage the pandemic. Anyway, let's continue.
Before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000. He lost manufacturing plants. Ask the auto workers how he lost auto plants. We have grown over 20 new auto plants. He has an agenda. Let's just deal with right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past. He has an agenda that would include making it more difficult for workers to earn overtime, an agenda that would include cutting off access to small business loans for small businesses, an agenda that includes tariffs to the point that the average working person will spend 20% more on everyday necessities and an estimated $4,000 more a year on those everyday necessities, to the point that top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs, have compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy. Some of them have actually assessed that his plan would increase inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. So the facts remain that Donald Trump has a history of taking care of very rich people. And I'm not mad at anybody for being rich, but they should pay their fair share. But tax cuts for the billionaires and the top corporations in our country, and then not really paying much attention to middle-class families. My perspective on the economy is when you grow the middle class, America's economy is stronger. And there's empirical evidence to prove my point correct.
Then let me ask.
I thought Kamala Harris's answer was excellent. I think I might have gotten oh my goodness. Zelda, my friend, thank you so much. Thank you for that kind, generous donation, my friend. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you. I think I might have gotten tripped up when Stephanie Rule pushed back with that whole COVID thing. But I love how Kamala Harris laid out her answer as an argument that completely refutes why people think Donald Trump is good at business, because he ain't good at business. And she could have gone further. She could have expounded, I guess, on Donald Trump's insistence upon leaning into tariffs, like 200% tariffs. And I mean, it's some very dumb stuff here. And just as an aside, some of you may have seen a tweet that I posted earlier when I was talking about my haircut. Specifically, my barber. My barber was a Trump voter, right? Excuse me. And we kind of got into a spirited conversation. Ultimately, my barber is voting for Kamala Harris this year. And the reason given was that when Donald Trump said that thing, when he told one of his audience, the thing that bothered my barber the most was when he had that rally and he told his audience, like, you will never have to vote again. They were like, what? And it sounded a bit too much like, what's the Cuban guy's name? Fidel Castro. Excuse me. It sounded too much like Fidel Castro. And then, but in any case, we kind of got into a discussion anyway. And they said at one point, that they thought Trump was better at business. And I was like, what? Why? It's like, why? What is it about him that makes you think that he's better at business? And it couldn't give me an answer. And the thing is, he has this long-lasting mystique, right? And this mystique is hard to break through, unfortunately. He was on business. He was on TV as, the head of this show, The Apprentice, where he was, I'm going to teach you about business and I'm going to fire you. You're fired. That thing lasted in people's psyches, going back to when I was in my early 20s. I remember he came out with a book. What was that? The Art of the Deal. And, he staked his claim to being some kind of financial whiz. And really all he ever did was slap his name on things. That was it. He took money that his father gave him, whether it was 40 million or 400 million, maybe it's the equivalent of 400 million today. And he squandered it. He would have done better if he had put that money into the stock market instead of, wasting it on all these different, brand projects. And he bankrupted casinos. How dumb do you have to be to bankrupt casinos? So anyway, Kamala Harris could have gone off on all those things, but I thought she had a very succinct and effective answer. And what irritates the crap out of me is that a lot of people will say, "Well, I don't think I'm hearing enough from Kamala." Then, motherfucker, you just don't want to. You don't want to hear it because she is speaking at length multiple times, whether it's at her at the DNC, at that big week-long rally. She spoke there. She spoke during the debate with 67 million other people saw and heard what the hell she had to say. She's been interviewed multiple times. Okay, so if you're not hearing what the hell she has to say, it's because you don't want to. She's giving speeches, and it's not like, these speeches vary a whole lot. She does pretty much reiterate her plans at each one of these rallies. In fact, I could probably run off a list of the things that she wants to do. She just had a major economic policy speech this week, and I thought it was very effective. And let me just add that the other part of my irritation is that while these folks are saying she's not giving enough detail, they're letting Donald Trump get away with saying things like, "I have concepts of a plan." Or, when he talks about contraceptives, the other day, a guy asked him, where do you weigh in on the Republican Party putting restrictions on access to contraception or contraceptives? And he was like, we're going to look into that. What? What? I'm floored. The Republicans used to be the party of small government. Now they want to be all up in your bedroom and tell you how you can plan your family. It's insane. It's insane. But that should be a layup, easy peasy layup. We do not want to put restrictions on contraceptive, period. But anyway, yes, Kamala Harris did give a speech at an economic policy. I think it was an economic meeting, but let me share with you a clip from that speech. I thought she was very good here too.
And here's the thing. Here's the beauty of it all. We know how to build an economy like that. We do know how to unlock strong shared economic growth for the American people. History has shown it time and again. When we invest in those things that strengthen the middle class, manufacturing, housing, healthcare, education, small businesses, and our communities, we grow our economy and catalyze the entire country to succeed. I have pledged that building a strong middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. And the reason well, let me tell you, the reason is not about politics and it's not about ideology. From my perspective, it's just common sense. It's just common sense.
It is common sense. And I love that she shares it. I love that she is focused on the middle class, because that's where the focus should have been this entire time. I've heard her talking about incentives to young couples, $6,000 for the first year of their first child, the increasing increasing the deduction from $5,000 to $50,000 for small businesses. That's huge. There's a whole slew of economic initiatives that Kamala Harris wants to undertake, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And I'm not alone, as there are 200, as of this week, 200 plus former Bush, McCain, and Romney alumni who have endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, yes, they are all Republicans, and no, I haven't seen that yet, Lane. Too, but I will have to. I'll have to look for your tagged tweet. The Stevie Nicks new song. Looking forward to it. The important thing to note about all these Republicans endorsing Kamala Harris is not that she's like some kind of Trojan horse that she's a Democrat on the outside, but really inside she's gonna spring a whole bunch of Republican policies on us. Surprise, motherfuckers! No, she's not doing that. Tom Shuffleton says they are mostly rhinos. I'm fine with that. I don't think you could call George Will a rhino. I don't think you could call what's that guy's name? Cheney, Dick Cheney. You should not call it Dick Cheney a rhino. If Dick Cheney is a rhino, then then the whole Republican Party is rhinos, or the whole Republican Party is MAGA. Then, and they're not. That's what the new split is, right? It's not MAGA and moderate Republicans, and it's just like it's MAGA. Actually, it is MAGA and moderate Republicans. That is it right now. There's nothing else. And I think MAGA is a shrinking circle of influence, not growing. There's not more people saying, oh, unhinged policies that benefit nobody but the ultra, ultra, ultra rich? Yeah, sign me up. Sure. No. I like this one. Brad says it's America versus MAGA. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think it's noteworthy that so many Republicans are saying, okay, I am Republican, but I'm an American first. And they don't want somebody in office who might never allow another free election. And if he gets in and they put that Project 2025 into gear, and I know every Trumper is like, oh, he's disavowed Project 2025. It's actually Agenda 47. If you're calling it Agenda 47, it's just you've painted over Project 2025 a different color, but it's the same goddamn thing. We're not stupid. We're not MAGA, okay? Now this Tuesday is actually a very important debate. I never give a shit about a vice presidential debate. Never. And I'm being 100% honest. I did watch Kamala debate Mike Pence, and I was so glad I did, because it was one of the most hilarious things I'd ever seen. That was the I'm speaking debate. That was the fly sitting on Mike Pence's head. That was great. But normally I don't really care about vice presidential debates. Prior to that, I think it was Tim Kaine versus Mike Pence. And before that, it was Paul Ryan versus Joe Biden. And I didn't care about any of that stuff. But right now, this is an interesting one, I think. And Stephanie L. from Florida would agree with me. And I'm going to say this one is interesting because Donald Trump is 78 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting any saner. In fact, I think, God forbid, if he were to win, and I'm prefacing that with God forbid, if he were to win, there's a good likelihood that not only would he not finish his entire term, and that's not because of legal things, because I think he'll find some way to scuttle all of the legal cases against him. I'm saying because he will deteriorate to the point where finally the cabinet will push him out. They'll 25th Amendment him, I think. Although, if they put Project 2025 into place, um, excuse me, a prerequisite of Project 2025 is that they have to swear an oath of loyalty to Donald Trump, not to America, but to Donald Trump. That's scary, right? That means literally nobody could kick him out of office. Theoretically, he would be in there for life, which, based on his behavior and his diet, might not be that as long as you would fear. Anyway, the debate that's coming up between JD Vance, who is very robotic, does not seem comfortable in his own skin, where, by contrast, Tim Walz is like your next door neighbor, as regular can be. He's a guy who, if your car is busted and you got the hood open, he'll come over and he'll say, "Here, hand me that wrench," and he'll like fix your car for you. He's that guy. And I agree with this, Nurse Mitch. JD Vance as president is a gross thought. Lulu Girl here says JD's creepy as hell. And Zelda says he's tired and boring. I have to agree with all that. Michelle says the people who think Agenda 47 is different than Project 2025 are the same people who think you can combat a hurricane by having the Navy drop ice in the ocean. Yeah, terrifying. Okay, so speaking of terrifying, Hurricane Helene right now is no longer a hurricane, is a tropical depression, Helene. And I believe it was headed directly for Tallahassee last night around 1 a.m. No, it was a little earlier, because I was watching the 11th hour, Stephanie Rule, and that dude, the reporter, he had to run inside for cover because the debris was flying around like crazy. So this storm has actually taken the lives of 42 people. 42 people have died as a result of complications from this storm, and that's terrible. What else is terrible is that there's a trend of us seeing more and more of these named storms with increasing frequency and increasing strength. And of course, the devastation is hard to overlook. It's not just water damage, but it's also wind damage. That's the thing with these hurricanes. They hit you with the 1-2. They hit you with the wind, and they hit you with the water damage is almost as bad as wind damage. And Jane Doe says, but there's no global warming. And that is what is even scarier, because Project 2025, if Donald Trump were to be elected, Project 2025 does away with the National Weather Service. It does away with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, that's the thing that helps give people a heads up when these hurricanes are coming. what kind of sick person thinks that these are good ideas? Makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. I remember when Superstorm Sandy, I don't know if you guys remember Superstorm Sandy, that hit New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that whole tri state area. It hit us bad. And like all of the subways were flooded. There were cars like floated all over the place. Everybody I knew who had a basement, their basement was flooded. Um, and just so much, so much damage. And it's scary to think that um, that people in that area of Florida, Tallahassee, have been hit 3 times in 1 year. I can't even imagine that shit. When we got hit with Superstorm Sandy, it freaking stopped the city. It stopped for the city that never sleeps. New York City came to a stop. It came to a grinding halt. Like I couldn't even take a subway back home into Brooklyn. I had to cram myself onto a overcrowded city bus. Um, yeah, it was brutal, brutal. Marie says no power for 8 days. I remember that. Oh no. Stephanie says there's another system we're watching. This is not good. So I hope everybody here, if you have someone who was affected by the storm, my thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family or your friends or whatever. And use this as a way to, you know, strike up a conversation, political, and say, hey, did you hear that Project 2025, they want to do away with that early warning system, the NOAA, if Trump gets elected? Yeah. I don't know why he would do this. It's crazy. Do that. Eric Adams made history this week as becoming the first sitting New York City mayor. Oh shit, and FEMA. Carol Glenn. They also want to do away with FEMA. That's FEMA's the one that provides all that emergency funding. It's so crazy because these Republican senators are first in line when their state gets slammed by one of these historic storms. You'll see Ted Cruz with his hand out. Hey, give me funding. Or Rick Scott, any of those. It's very annoying. But anyway, Eric Adams, New York City mayor, the first sitting mayor to be indicted while in office for corruption. It's a goddamn shame. And let me just tell you, this hits me, first of all, because I didn't like him and didn't want him in office. He seemed like he has a heavy cop background, and I'm not anti-cop. My cousin Rashid was a cop. He was a good cop too. Lots of people I know. In fact, I have several members of the family that were in law enforcement. But he just seemed like the wrong guy. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. He put me way off with his vibe. Some of you may have already seen what I'm about to show you.
You can look at a jewelry box. A jewelry box of this nature, maybe a simple jewelry.
By the way, this video, the purpose of this video is telling people how to search through your child's shit. Goodness gracious. I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that that kids that some teens, might be hiding that kind of paraphernalia, drugs and guns, and it's just a very weird and creepy video. Um, but yeah, I never really, really trusted him. But I didn't expect him to get himself ensnared in in a corruption bribery scheme where Turkish officials were had cooked up this means of exerting their influence on him by with travel quirks. Travel perks, um, upgrading his flights, to first class or business class or whatever, sending him on luxurious trips, sending him to letting him stay in fancy hotels and footing the bill for that. None of this stuff was publicly declared, and I don't know how he was in law enforcement and didn't figure out that his ass could be could be taken down by this. I mean, wow. Wow. So the guy after him is Damian Williams, and young man seems to have to be on point, to have his shit together. It looks like a very serious case, and it doesn't look good for this guy. I think he should resign and not let, if he is truly a Democrat, I don't think he should allow the Democratic Party to suffer for his bullshit, because I think there is a guilt by association thing that's happening here. I want him out. I want him out. I want him out. Step out. Let you be the focus of your own corruption. The same thing that happened with look at this. And it's not just, here's the terrible thing is that it's not just him. It's like this, there's a whole cascade of characters that are caught in his web of corruption. It's really, really bad. It's really bad. Um, I would like to hear from some of our party's senior members, specifically Senator Schumer and leader Hakeem Jeffries. I would like them to reassure New Yorkers that we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I don't know. I think there's maybe like 5 to 10% chance that maybe I can't even bring myself to say it. Um, Maybe he is innocent. I don't think he is. This is a major thing. You don't just come after somebody with a half-assed case. They've been working on this thing for years, and finally, they've. Nurse Mitch says Jeffries wants him to resign. I think I saw somewhere that AOC also wanted him to resign as well. Um, yeah, and I don't know. He seems like one of those headstrong guys, like Bob Menendez. He didn't want to resign either, and he actually waited until the whole process was over. So there's one thing, I guess, to be said about letting the process play itself out, because in our law system, everybody is granted the presumption of innocence until being proven guilty. Now, just because we think he looks guilty and it sounds like he's guilty doesn't mean that he is. Also doesn't mean that he's innocent if he is acquitted. It just means that he had a very good lawyer who presented enough of a shadow of a doubt to get him sprung. But meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, um, there is much less of a rush to judgment of their members than there is on, in the Democratic side. Republicans, they don't give a shit whether it's, allegations of sex with a minor, also known as statutory rape. Uh, Even somebody like George Santos, who, boy, that dude had like charges up the wazoo. They had let him go through the whole process as well until, I think, until he got that deal. Yeah. So now we arrive at Spanky McDumbass, and this dude is spinning out of control. I think I showed this to you last week, where he had posted, and then eventually he deleted this, but he reposted a really ugly meme. Excuse me. It was a poor Photoshop job. Somebody photoshopped Diddy's face where Montel Williams was, in a picture with Kamala Harris and Montel Williams' daughter. Donald Trump did this because his own face is in dozens of pictures with Diddy, who was recently charged with a series of sex trafficking and other hideous, ugly violations. So Donald Trump figured, oh, I'm going to implicate Kamala too. She's not guilty of any of that shit. She's not guilty of any of the accusations of sleeping her way to the top. No, she didn't sleep her way. She went through elections. She had to be elected. So disgusting. Yeah, here's Donald Trump. Gross. Anyway, he seems to be on this kick where, first of all, he cannot get unstuck from the fact that Kamala Harris busted his ass. And he thinks if he repeats a lie enough, if he tells people enough that he actually won the debate and that it was rigged against him, that people will somehow come along. People will just forget what they saw the first time, and their new reality will become whatever it is he's saying happened. But that's not how reality works. That's not how our brains function, I think. Here, I have a clip of him saying some bullshit about the debate. It's mind-boggling that people let him get away with this shit.
I had 3-on-1 the other day, and I had 2-on-1 that I always have unequalized, but we handled it very well. We got great marks on that debate. We had a woman debating. She just talked about like the birds and the bees. She didn't talk about when you asked a question, there was never an answer. There was never any knowledge. I had.
What? the birds and the bees? Come on. We all saw that debate. There was no discussion of birds. There was no discussion of bees. What the fuck is he talking about? Here's another crazy unhinged bit where he's still stuck on the debate, still relitigating the reality of his beatdown.
Crime has gone up massively. He said, I'd like to state for the record that crime has not gone up. Now, you don't know this, but we had a deal with ABC that there will be no corrections of any kind, and they violated the deal. Why? Because they're bad people and they're fake news. So he did it many times to me during the debate. He violated the deal. That's the deal. Because you can take anything and try and make up stories with it. We had a deal where that wouldn't happen. You could do whatever you wanted as soon as the debate was over, but he did it in total violation of what our agreement was. And A lot of people, they're standing right over there, will tell you exactly what it was. We'll show you what it was. David Muir has lost all credibility. The
Lost credibility. I thought it was interesting that that Donald Trump used the word violated maybe 3 or 4 times during that tirade, because nobody knows more about violation than he who violates. He who was found liable for violating E. Jean Carroll. And yes, he is butthurt indeed. And he's just flailing. He's literally saying things like he'll cut taxes for, what did he say about the taxes thing? Oh, here's another thing. He's asking why Kamala Harris didn't fix the border for the 3.5 years that she was in office. Why she didn't fix the border. It's kind of irritating when I know the answer to that, and you probably know the answer to that, and most of the grown-ups in that room with him also know the answer to that. That Kamala Harris is the vice president. Vice presidents do not set policy. No matter how much you want that to be the case now because she is your opponent, she doesn't. She does not set policy. She was your Mike Pence. What policy did Mike Pence set? You, Donald Trump, were in office for 4 years. 4. You didn't fix the border. No. And there are multiple Republicans who know this, who have called you out on it several times. So, what's even more significant is that there was a way to fix the border, to secure the border. There was that border security bill. And this bill was worked on. It was bipartisan. It was worked on by both Republicans and Democrats. And Democrats really didn't like this bill because it was more of a conservative bill. There was so much shit in here that Democrats were like, I can't really get behind this, but I'll do it because Joe wants it. Joe Biden wanted this bill badly enough that we were going to overlook some of the things that offended people in our base just to make it happen. And Donald Trump said, nope. He said, I do not want you to pass this bill. In fact, the guy, oh, damn, what's that guy's name? The guy who is primarily responsible for this bill, the one during the State of the Union, they focused on his face and he was mouthing the words. He was like, it's true. Lankford, Senator Lankford. He said that a prominent right-wing host on Fox News told him that if he pushed to get this thing passed, he would destroy Senator Lankford. Think about that. He fucking threatened a United States senator to back away from legislation that was going to help secure the border. That's insane. There should be an investigation on that alone. So much. Yes, I'm pretty sure Marie from New Jersey said Sean Hannity. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. It's insane, though. It is absolutely crazy. And Donald Trump still, a good week after we learned that Black Nazi Mark Robinson was not going to withdraw from the race. He was going to stay in it. Donald Trump, and we found out that he He said if they brought back slavery, that he would buy a bunch of slaves himself, which is crazy because they wouldn't let him buy slaves. He would probably become a slave himself. Excuse me. And a bunch of other horrible, horrible things he has said and done. Donald Trump has not unendorsed him. He's hitched his wagon to him. He's staying in there. Staying. There's no virtue in that. I know there's a thing where you stand by your man or whatever. There's no virtue in standing by this dude when you find out that he's a fucking Nazi. When you find out that he would like to go back to the time when women could not vote. That's disqualifying right there, just for the record. And then the stuff that he said about the LGBTQ community, forget about it. Forget about it. He is disgusting, indeed. That is correct, Nurse Mitch. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you an update on. I am so thrilled with how this book is looking. It is beautiful. I'm so already like over the moon proud of this thing. It's been a labor of love. I had a bunch of you guys on my case about this for a long time. It was like, I think it might have been, was it Trump Reaper? It asked me every week, so what's up with the book? I was like, I was stagnated. I was stagnated because there was so much negativity around, Joe Biden from the media and also from some Democrats, just like I couldn't unhitch my thoughts. I couldn't get this story back on track. And suddenly when he stepped aside, I was like, yeah, okay, I can finish the book now. And it's coming along nicely. Here's one of my favorite pages. They're all to some degree my favorites, but here's a good one here. I will read this one to you. Another court case happened that would affect women all across America. On June 24th, 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, removing access to abortion women had for over 50 years. They couldn't have done it if not for the 3 justices that Spanky appointed to the Supreme Court, and he knew it. He couldn't stop bragging about it. Women were going to make Spanky regret it. Rovember was coming. And as you can see in the picture here, we've got the Statue of Liberty representing freedom, and she's about to squash Spanky, who's doing that dumb jerking 2 guys dance. And in the background there's a group of protesters with signs saying codify Roe and we're not going back and freedom. And then to the far left, there is Clarence Thomas walking away with some bags of money. This page here, this is also a fun page. It's very small on my screen here, but I'm going to read this here. The legal floodgates burst open. Everywhere he turned, Spanky was indicted. He was indicted for fraud. He was indicted for election interference. He was indicted for taking classified documents. He was indicted for falsifying business documents. He was indicted for conspiracy to defraud the United States on January 6th. Altogether, Spanky had 88 indictments. Spanky was a criminal. And in the picture here, you can see there's some on the far left, the top of the screen there are 3 sharks. Each one has a different indictment on it. One says falsifying documents. Another one says election interference. Another one says fraud. That's all on the fins. And then there's a guy surfing there, and that's Jack Smith. And written on Jack Smith's surfboard, it says classified documents. And directly under that second shark, the shark in the middle, that's Rudy Giuliani underneath the shark there. in the chair. That's uh, in the uh, in the lifeguard chair. That is Letitia James, aka Litigious Blames. And the last page I'm going to show you today, this one says, many years ago, Spanky cheated on malaria with a porn star named Glory Handles. Not Stormy Daniels, but Glory Handles. He paid her $130,000 so that she wouldn't say anything and mess up his chance to be president. But he falsified business records to hide it, and that made it a felony. Spanky was found guilty of 34 counts. Spanky was a convicted felon. And right there, right next to the judge who's banging his hammer saying guilty, that is the attorney. Wait, is it attorney general or district? Alvin. What the hell is Alvin's last name? That guy. above there, that's Michael Cohen, that's Stormy Daniels, and then to the very far right, at the top of your screen, that is Bernie Sanders. Alvin Bragg. Thank you. Thanks, guys. And then on the bench on the left, the very far left, there's Matt Gaetz, there's Hannibal Lecter, there is Mike Johnson, and then next to him is Marjorie Taylor Greene. So that is all I can share with you guys today. I honestly cannot wait. Yeah, those Bernie the Bernie sightings in the book are kind of like Where's Waldo? I had a little bit of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with this book, and I'm extremely proud of it. I can't wait for you guys to see it. October 15th. And next week on the what is it, Wednesday? I'm being interviewed by a woman named Joan Esposito. She has a radio show in Chicago. It's a progressive radio show, and she's going to ask me some questions about my Twitter account and about the book. So if any of you guys have access to WCPT, I think that's the channel I'm going to be on, and it's going to be at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, my time. So if you have a chance, check it out. Check it out. No, I'm not going to Chicago, Jenny. I will be. They're just going to call me on my phone, so it's going to be a virtual interview there. So very cool. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, stay safe. My thoughts and prayers again go out to anybody who has experienced any kind of hardship from the storm. I hope you are able to, put your yard back together and dry out your home. And, if anyone is hurt, I hope they get better soon. So I look forward to seeing you guys here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.